the system will produce a list of everybody that's expecting that particular stock item. And even though you haven't received enough, you might have priority customers that you want to say, okay, well, I'll allocate this amount to this customer and I'll allocate this to that customer. So before you commit that to who's going to get it, you can actually change it. So they're the sorts of things that you can do in a larger system in terms of greater depth of functionality. Sorry, there was one other at the bottom there, which was the periodic standing order process, which is just a way of having orders that recur over and over again and being able to set them up on a monthly or a quarterly, a half-yearly or a yearly basis so that the person that's actually processing those standing orders doesn't have to think about it. They basically, at the end of the month, just have a procedure and it will go and do the right thing for them. We spoke about a broader range of modules. So on the left-hand side here, we've just got the standard sort of modules, you know, general ledger, customers, inventory, sales order processing, bank rec. But on the right-hand side, we have some of the more demanding modules that larger systems at the next level can offer you. Things like fixed assets, purchase requisitions, multi-branch consolidations, true job costing and job quoting, point of sale, bill of materials. There's quite a list there. So if your business requires these sorts of things, if you don't get it in your software, then somehow you've got to add that on. So if you're plugging it on or using spreadsheets or different databases, you're really compromising in terms of the whole holistic approach that you need to achieve. Being able to grow with your business. Again, this is another important one. If we have a look at some of the things, when somebody gets a system at the next level, certainly with Triumph, is we don't flood them with everything. They can turn on functionality in a granular manner or granular means. So as they need more functionality within, say, debtors, we can actually turn things on. So for example here, we could turn on settlement discounts if we needed it at some point. We can turn on retentions if that's what you want. You can have parents and child buying type groups so that customers that want to sell to people like Bunnings are catered for. We can have sales groups and extra things. So there's a lot of functionality even within the module that you can dumb down, and as you need that functionality, you can then step up to it and turn it on. All right, so what we're going to do now is take a little bit of a look. And we're going to go into a various number of places that we want to have a look at. And to give you an example in terms of growth that I should have spoke about earlier was, just an example, one of our customers, Ausclad group of companies, about 10 years ago they came to us because they were struggling to keep a control. They had a small pastel system, which was okay at that bottom level, but they were starting to grow. They were a job-based construction company in fabrication, and they were really losing track on their stock. They were really losing track on where they were making money on their jobs and everything like that. So by putting in Triumph and putting the procedures in place, they were able to start finding out where their stock holding was, what their jobs were costing them, which ones were profitable, which ones they needed to start charging more on. And they've really gone from there from strength to strength. So they've become, in the meantime, they've become a publicly listed company. From where they started off, when we brought them in, when they had their 2-user pastel system, they started off as a 20 million company. They're now turning over nearly $400 million a year. Okay? And they've gone from having a 2-user pastel system, they now have a 65-user Triumph system. So that's just an example of some of the growth that we'd be looking at. Okay, I'm just going to swap over and have a look at the Triumph system because that's what I'll be showing you in terms of that next level that we can do. In this particular company, I'm actually logged in what we call a multi-division environment, so I can have separate business entities. And if I change business entities, one of the nice things is that it actually tells me which business entity, just as a visual prompt, that I'm actually working in. So I've got a couple of branches here, Victoria and WA. We have a nicely structured, I might just change back again, we have a nicely structured laid out menu system, and if I go into something like job costing, I can see that it's broken up into certain areas of functionality such as transactions, card file maintenance, financial reporting and special processing like end of month. Now all those systems are security protected because I don't want to get, I want to be able to set up who can get in and who can do certain things. We have about 5 levels of security. But if I just log out and log back in again as somebody different, and if I just log in as Demo 2 and go through there, immediately you can see this is a restricted person, so he only gets access to just a few minor details. So that's how you can actually restrict people from getting access to certain things, as well as having different levels of access within that. I'm just going to log back in as my power user, and then come back into the system. All right, the first thing I'm going to have a look at is just have a look at the chart of accounts and just explain in our chart of account maintenance is that we maintain like a spreadsheet style chart of accounts. Basically, there's only a couple of rules. It's either a profit and loss account or a balance sheet account. And we use two add-tos that actually allow you to have departmental reporting. What that really means is that you can structure your chart to suit your business. So if you need to have a chart that your accountant thinks this is a good way to report for you, then you're not restricted within one particular format. If I want to go to an account, I can then drill down and have a look at the figures for that account. And if I come across here and have a look, then I can see all the different figures. With Triumph's GL, we actually have 18 periods. So what it does is it allows you to have the whole 12 months a year online, plus it gives you an extra 6 months. So you don't actually have to roll over or do anything at the end of the financial year. You can wait for your accountant to come back with the relevant journals that need to be done before you have to move forward. I can pick any particular month if I wanted to, and then drill in and have a look at those transactions. And these are the transactions that obviously make up the balances. And then within for any of those balances, for example, I could then drill down and do what's called an event inquiry and have a look at all the debits and credits that got posted at that point in time. Okay, so that's that transaction there. So basically anything that happens in Triumph gets allocated an event number, and we can tie all that information back together. And what's really neat is down the bottom here, if we have a look, we have the auditing sort of stuff starting to come in. So I can actually see on this particular sales transaction that got posted, I can see the physical date it was entered, the actual time it was entered. I can see which period in the GL it went to, who the operator was, so who actually physically keyed this one in. I can see what workstation they were sitting on. So if I'm a company that's operating Australia-wide, I can see exactly where this was done from. And then, of course, I can see whereabouts in Triumph it actually came from, what component of the software which posted this entry to us. So very powerful sort of auditing requirements. So not that we want to play beat cop or anything, but if somebody says, well, I never entered that transaction, of course you can go back and say, oh, funnily enough, if I have a look here, it's got your name on it, Mike. If we just come out of the GL chart there, and we'll just go and run one particular report. Normally I'd show you a profit and loss and balance sheet, but because we're running in a multi-division environment, I'm actually just going to show you one that actually shows you a profit and loss for multiple divisions. So in this particular case, I only have the 3 divisions in here, which is New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia. And what we can see is, I might just close it off and get a bit more room. What we can see is we're getting a side-by-side, so we can see a profit and loss, and we can get it for New South Wales, we can get it for Victoria, we can get it for Western Australia, and we can get a consolidated picture for the whole company. And if I wanted to drill into any of those particular areas, you'll notice that Victoria and WA are 0. I'll have to apologise, just my demo data, I don't have a lot of figures in there. But if I want to drill in and have a look at those particular areas, I can still drill down from within this report and have a look at the transactions that make up those balances. So quite a neat sort of facility. I think the maximum, we have somebody now that runs 183 different divisions, so that's a hell of a lot. Some of the other things about divisions is each division can have its own chart, so it has its own chart structure. When we have entries that go between divisions, it automatically posts what we call inter-division loan entries, so that if it's debiting one division and crediting the other, it automatically does the loan account entries for you, so all that side of it's taken care. I'm just going to go down here and have a look at all the reports that we do and all the forms that we do are all written in Crystal. So you could take one of these reports, and if you didn't like it, you could quite easily chop out a column, add a new column in, extend the functionality, because it's written in a report writing tool that you can get a hold of that allows you to extend it. So you can just take the base report and add stuff to it. And this is a report one of our agents has actually gone and written that I've now sort of incorporated into the system, which just shows you which is a dashboard style report. So it actually shows me at a glance